The Caribbean Carnival in Manchester is one of the biggest dates in the diary. It's a bright and colourful celebration of music, dancing and culture. But for years there have been concerns within the community about the way it's being run. Matthew Bone investigates.
There's nothing quite like the Caribbean Carnival in Manchester, a brilliant weekend of partying and celebration in one of the city's most flamboyant communities. But behind the scenes, it's a different story.
It was never ever a paper trail, it was just his word. And every time you asked for proof, you never got it.
I'm disgusted with it all. It's just not what it meant to be.
It was more like a cowboy job, to be perfectly honest with you.
The carnival is run by a committee. It's not a charity or a company, so there's little scrutiny. And when Karen became secretary in 2011, she realised something was badly wronged.
There was still a lack of transparency. You know, things like the budget. When you have to see the budget, you couldn't see the budget. There was also accusations to do with payments. Some people weren't getting paid, money being withdrawn from the bank account, and nobody knew where that money went to.
Tell me what happened when you said, I'm not going to...
And she wasn't the only one concerned.
Well, I asked for what I believe, you know, any other accountant should be asking for, which is purchase invoices, details of the income they've received, copies...
Atif Freeman refused to sign off the carnival's accounts in 2013. He set out a long list of concerns, including big payments being made with little documentation.
Now, I'm sorry, but if you're paying somebody £26,000, £27,000, I would expect an invoice for that payment. I would expect a purchase order for that payment. I would expect some kind of reasoning and some kind of decision process to have occurred in the background before that payment is authorised. None of that existed.
Atif was soon told his services were no longer needed and the carnival will be finding another accountant. He did forward his concerns on to Karen, and she said by that stage the Arts Council, the carnival's biggest funder, was also asking questions.
The Arts Council wanted to know what their money was spent on, and they kept setting them deadlines, you know, and that happened a few times. And eventually the Arts Council just said, OK, then, you know, you're a liability. We're not going to fund you anymore.
The Arts Council have been giving the carnival tens of thousands of pounds in funding, but we've seen a report from 2013 which outlines concerns about artistic quality, asks questions about where the money's being spent, and ends in a decision to stop directly funding the event. Sponsorship from other areas also fell, from £44,500 in 2010 to £6,000 in 2017. Lack of transparency had turned into lack of funding, and as the years went on, some people stopped getting paid. Max provided sound systems and DJs to the carnival in 2017. Instead of payment, he was given a lot of empty promises.
I said, don't bother come back to my house unless we get that money. You know, so, you know, every time I see like the owner, which was Nicky Bisson, it's like he's trying to fog me off all the time. He said that he's paid this man the money and he's paid that man. You just don't know who to believe.
The guy Max mentions is Mickey Bisson, the chair of the committee. He's told us Max should have been paid by someone else who'd been working with the carnival, but during our investigation, Mickey's name came up again and again.
I phoned him, I says, well, we want the rest of the money. Right. Well, Mickey Bisson's refusing to answer the phone.
Safeguard Security were one of the big firms involved with the carnival in 2017.
We was underpaid, we were short paid, and we're still short paid at the moment.
So what happened here? Well, this is a curious story which ends with £5,000 of public money unaccounted for. The carnival uses a firm called Unicron for security every year. In 2017, they needed extra security, so Safeguard were brought in. Manchester City Council paid for this by sending £17,000 to Unicron. But Safeguard say they didn't get any payment from Unicron. The carnival says this is a dispute between security providers and nothing to do with them. Except, we've seen evidence that clearly shows nearly £12,000 was paid by the carnival into Safeguard Security's bank account. If this was nothing to do with the carnival, why were they the ones who paid Safeguard? And where's this other £5,000 of public money? Neither Unicron nor the carnival have provided us with answers to those questions. Aftab says conditions on the day of the event were unusual too, when food and drink stalls started popping up seemingly out of nowhere.
When we went back on the Saturday morning, which was the 12th of August, we was kind of surprised to see that there was over 100 traders inside the park already. We did specifically ask them for either handbands or something indicating that they are traders, but nothing like that was done. People was just turning up from all angles.
Well, today, in the depths of winter, the Caribbean Carnival seems a million miles away from here. But every summer, when the carnival comes round, this place is transformed, and trading stalls are a big part of the carnival. The carnival website advertises plots for between £500 and £650 for the weekend. Now, the council sent staff down here in 2017, and they counted a total of 127 trading plots. Now, 127 stalls at just £500 each would bring in around £63,000. The carnival says they made around £28,000 from stalls that year. So why the big difference?
The carnival says some stalls are allowed in for free and others are charged at a reduced rate, so assuming even £500 per stall is overestimating their income. But there's a long way from their declared £28,000 to our estimated £63,000. That's an awful lot of stalls paying well below the going rate. Paul takes his food stall to carnivals all over the country. He says others give you an invoice, ask for a bank transfer, give you a map of the site with your plot, but not in Manchester.
Then I'll give him the money in cash, and on the day I'll turn up and I pray that I'm on the list for getting in.
So you say it's normally in cash, or is it always in cash?
I've only ever paid in cash. In 5 years, I've only ever paid in cash. There's always some issue if it's not getting in, it's where you're pitching, or just something just always seems to go wrong with the organisation in Manchester.
The point is, without a consistent paper trail, there's no way to tell how much all the stall owners have paid. This doesn't prove money's being pocketed, but it would make it easier to do.
Manchester City Council effectively decide who runs the event, and they held an investigation into the carnival last year. They found no evidence of money going missing, but said it was also hard to see what was going on behind the scenes.
No evidence has been presented to me to suggest that there is any financial mismanagement. Not to say, people are making these allegations, and there is an issue around transparency. And I couldn't vouch for the Caribbean Carnival because we're not the organisers of the carnival.
And you say you don't have evidence of things like money going missing, for example, but is that not really a surprise if there's no transparency there? You're not going to have any evidence.
See, the thing is, I couldn't speculate in any of that. I can only act on what is presented before me.
But the councillors said this lack of transparency needs to change, especially around stalls.
I think it does. I think there's got to be a mechanism for them to be able to account for how they conduct their transactions. They've got to be clearly presented in the accounts.
The carnival says there's a new direct payments policy for stalls and that the vast majority now pay by bank transfer. But can change come from within like this, or is it time for new management? Karen Cummings is part of a rival bid, but in the past the council have said her team isn't ready to take on the event.
There was an expression of interest last year, but there's a process and there's a criteria that is set against all community applications, and I understand that it didn't meet, it was fairly weak, and it didn't meet the necessary criteria that we had set in place.
It's hard to overstate just how much people care about the carnival here. Some people I spoke to said they had concerns about the way it was being run, but didn't want to go on camera because they didn't want to risk it being cancelled. The chair of the committee said he believes this film will be biased against the carnival, but there's a difference between wanting the carnival cancelled and questioning the way it's being run, because greater transparency would ease concerns about the way money's being taken and spent, and possibly bring back some of those big funders like the Arts Council, and that would be no less than the performers, parade troops, stall holders and thousands of people who come here every year deserve.